developing anti-venom.
Well, we are, yes. Papua New Guinea has used Australian antivenoms very successfully for over 50 years.
Okay.
And their antivenoms are very good. But the problem is they're also very expensive.
Yes.
And Papua New Guinea simply can't afford to buy all of the antivenom it needs at those prices. So about 10 years ago, we thought about the idea of, well, why can't we make our own and solve the problem that way? And in so doing, not only would we solve the problem of not having enough antivenom to treat all the snake bites, but we could provide employment for local scientists and doctors. We could produce a fledgling industry that could see Papua New Guinea one day making its own drugs and medicines and not having to import them, as well as developing the capacity in all of these areas so that we would become a smarter country. And everyone said, you can't do it. You know, we talked to different manufacturers and said, you know, would they be willing to help us? And if some of them said, well, look, you're wasting your time, it's going to cost you $15 or $20 million, it's just technologically too difficult, don't worry about it. But we were lucky in that we found a partner in Costa Rica, of all places, the University of Costa Rica in San Jose, who turned around and said, well, if you can supply the snake venom, we'll make the antivenom and we'll do it for nothing.
Okay. And do it over there in Costa Rica? Or
so they made it for us.
Yeah. Okay.
And our concept is that they're making the antivenom for us. We're now testing it here at Port Moresby General Hospital in clinical trials. So it's actually being administered to patients and we're getting excellent results.
Okay.
Now at the end of that trial, which is going to be about a month from now, we'll look at all of the data and we'll assemble it and then we'll make a submission to the National Department of Health to have that product registered for general use, which means it'll be able to go out to health centres and aid posts and other hospitals for use. And our aim is that we will then work towards localising the production. So we need to train scientists to be able to make it. They need to go to Costa Rica for training or go to Australia for training. We need to build the facilities. We need the physical infrastructure, the laboratory. We need to have horses that we can immunise with the snake venom because we're actually using antibodies made in horses to make a snake antivenom. And our plan would be that within the next 10 years we would be making the product 100% here locally with local staff running it, everything completely localised. And that way Papua New Guinea can stand on its own 2 feet to meet its own need in this particular area. But the real benefit is a lot of the technology that we're using to make antivenoms is also used to make other medicines, and in particular vaccines. So potentially what we could do is we could provide Papua New Guinea with the capacity to have its own pharmaceutical industry where it meets its own needs for particular things like vaccines and antivenom and maybe some other drugs. So that's the sort of long-term road that we're on.
Yes. Most people in Papua New Guinea don't know that snake bites and its consequences is in fact a disease in this country, but we don't treat it like that.
No, people don't think of snake bite as a disease, and that is a problem in terms of getting the issue recognised, not just here but all around the world.
Okay.
But the reality is the snake bite itself is a physical injury. The snake punctures your skin and it then injects toxins into your body. Now those toxins affect all sorts of organs. They can affect the heart, the brain, the lungs, the liver, the kidneys. They can affect your blood. They can affect your actual muscle tissue and your skin tissue itself, causing pathology that's exactly the same as we see in many other types of disease, but for which still the best treatment is to deal with the toxin causing it. If we neutralise the toxin, then the body tends to heal itself. So it's very important that they understand that snake bite is a disease and it is something that we can actually treat.
It's all just shrouded in mystery that when you get bitten by a snake, the spirits are responsible, the ghosts are responsible.
Yeah, exactly. And I can understand that because in my culture, in the Anglo-Saxon culture, 1,000 years ago, we had exactly the same mindset because that was the only way we could explain things. But, you know, with the development of modern medicine and education, we now have a better understanding of what snake bite is, that it is actually caused by chemicals that the snake injects into the body, and that there are medical ways in which we can treat that.
Your work's extraordinary. Are you getting some attention from authorities here, the government, health department?
Well, we try to work as closely as we can with government. We've worked in particular with the Science and Research Technology Secretariat, which is through the Higher Education Department, and the Office of Higher Education, because we're based at the University of Papua New Guinea, and what we do is about education as well as about research. We try to work as closely as we can with the health department as well, but we're always in favour of strengthening our links.
Yeah. Funding, you getting anything?
Most of the work we've done has been funded from Australia up until now, so we were very fortunate. Again, it's a case of we were told this was impossible, that the Australian government wouldn't give us a grant to do work in another country. And I don't know, I don't take no very easily, so we put an application in, and lo and behold, they gave us $1.4 million to fund our current clinical trials.
That runs out though in June.
Well, it does. So June this year, we've got to find funding from other sources. So at the moment, we're talking to different organisations to see about the continuity of funding from July onwards.
Yeah, good luck to that. I think work you're doing is quite important. You're also going, we are running out of time, you're going overseas, you're going to Geneva, you're going to talk about venom and snakes, and PNG is going to be mentioned over there. Just tell us a little bit.
Well, it is. I mean, I guess the other hat that I wear, I'm also the CEO of the Global Snakebite Initiative, because snakebite's a problem all around the world, particularly in the tropics. And at the moment, there's a crisis with antivenom supply in Africa, which WHO is trying to deal with. So I'm one of the experts that have been asked to go to Geneva to sit on a committee that's going to look at evaluating the current antivenoms that they have over there.
Okay.
But in the wider sense, we've also been working here through the Minister for Health and HIV/AIDS, Michael Malabag, as one of the member states of WHO. Papua New Guinea have asked WHO to have a meeting in May to address the issue of snakebite. We have about 20 countries that have agreed to attend this meeting, and we're hoping that what it will lead to will be a resolution by the World Health Organization to actually seriously invest in fixing snakebite problems all around the world, not just here but everywhere where it's a concern.
You say evaluate. I take it that there are some work that are not authentic.
Well, this is the problem, in places like Africa, unfortunately, it's like with many drugs, there's a lot of drugs on the market that haven't been properly tested, properly evaluated for both their safety and their effectiveness. So it's one thing to have a drug that will cure the disease, but if that drug makes you sick in the process, that's a big problem. So a lot of the antivenoms in sub-Saharan Africa haven't actually been properly tested. So WHO has come up with a process for trying to sift through the available evidence and come up with a list of products that it thinks it can recommend. And that's the process that we're going to be involved in.
Okay, Doctor. We're running out of time. Just quickly, if I was bitten by a snake, what should I do? What can you tell the people who might be bitten by snakes?
All right, well, the first thing you should do is don't try to catch it and kill it. Don't use a tourniquet. Don't use a razor blade or a bit of broken glass to cut your skin, because snake venom will make you bleed and your blood will run like water. Stay still. You can bandage the limb the same way that you would bandage a sprained ankle, to put pressure on it to slow the movement of the venom. But really, the best thing that can be done is come to the hospital as quickly as possible. Go to the first health centre you can get to, or if you're able to, come straight to Port Moresby General Hospital and we'll take good care of you.
Dr. David Williams, thanks for talking to us.
It's a pleasure.
Okay. All right. Dr. Williams, by the way, has been bitten by venomous snakes 6 times. He cannot be bitten again. His body, in fact, rejects the antivenom, but he still has to work around that deadly reptile. What a job. This is PNG Tonight. After the break, tree planting for the future.